Hey Boyd, how you doing? So, been a couple days, not many days, but grant you, I've been busy. So, as much as I'd love to keep putting these up almost daily, well, but I got a good one today, and it's been a while since I've seen it. Admittedly, this is only the second time I've seen it, but it's one that's definitely enjoyable for a rewatch, and that's Re-Animator. So, yep, yet another Lovecraft adaptation. You're going to be seeing a lot of those on this show, but this one's one of the better ones from, well, the more recent ones have been doing pretty good, but the old school ones were really hit and miss. But Re-Animator was one of the better ones from back in the day, and starring Jeffrey Combs, which was also from Beyond. So, if it has Jeffrey Combs and it's Lovecraft, it's a fair bet. Now, Re-Animator is loosely based on the H.P. Lovecraft story, Herbert West, Re-Animator, which was, in itself, pretty much a parody of Frankenstein. So, Lovecraft himself wasn't overly fond of his Re-Animator series. It was serialized in several magazines, chapter after chapter. But it was well-paying, so he kept writing it. Now, reading it, and having read a lot of his other works, well, I'm pretty sure Lovecraft meant and Herbert West's Re-Animator is more of a comedy, like a gruesome comedy, but Lovecraft just isn't very funny. So it doesn't really come across very much. But now this one definitely has a good sense of humor to it, and keeps kind of a good tongue-in-cheek pace throughout it. So, plotline of Re-Animator. A brilliant medical student has developed a serum to restore life to the dead. And shenanigans ensue. That's really the best kind of good for it. It kind of just throws you right in with young Herbert West already has a serum and he's good to go. So, he recently transfers into Miskatonic University and moves in with our protagonist, whose name currently escapes me. I think it was Daniel. It only escapes me because in the book, he was completely unnamed. The story is from the assistant's perspective, but he himself is never named in the story. So for this one, Daniel is then dating the daughter of the school dean, and he, with West moving in, starts ending up getting involved in his experiments when he sees how truly incredible they are after he succeeds in bringing Dan's cat back from the dead. So, essentially, before they're thrown out of school, they want to see just how good the serum is and try it on some cadavers in their medical school to see if anyone can retain any sort of sentience beyond that. And, well, once the corpses start moving, things start getting out of hand as the body count begins piling. And the gore starts flying, as this is a very squishy movie. It's not as gory as a lot of other ones that I've seen, but for 1985, it's a good amount of gore. I think it was directed by Stuart Gordon, and I can't remember if it was him or the producer that said that it was the goriest movie they'd made at the time. Usually for Fake Blood, they went through about 2 gallons. This movie did about 24. So, yes, very gory, and the gore effects, they still hold up pretty well, actually. I mean, the one guy who's wandering around without his head, carrying it around in a pan, his effect isn't the greatest. I mean, the head in the pan looks great, but it's the head wound guy clearly looks too tall, and it's not the greatest effect there. But everything else works pretty well. Which would be our main antagonist after one of the other professors finds out about the serum. He's determined to make it his own and take the credit from young Herbert West, only to be killed and reanimated, but he still maintains being the antagonist after that point. So, it's an enjoyable gore fest that never loses its sense of humor throughout it. And Jeffrey Combs is a treasure, really. He's the definitive Herbert West for me, and he is really good in this. Now, there's 3 Re-Animator movies. I actually have never seen the second one, Bride of Re-Animator. This one's mostly covers the first half of the Lovecraft stories, where it's mostly set in medical school. Though that one's also them in a shack digging up bodies, rather than having a school morgue. But then the next chunk of it seems to be involving them going to war, so I think Bride of Re-Animator more goes into that. The third one, Beyond Re-Animator, is actually the one I saw of these first, and all of them have Jeffrey Combs and his maniacal brilliance. That one's completely unrelated to the source material, but it's still fun. But this is definitely better than the Beyond Re-Animator was. So, it's pretty much a genre classic. Most people have heard of Re-Animator by now, and if you haven't seen it, it still holds up very well. Don't know if there's too much else to comment on for it. But it's pretty much the Herbert West performance is what's got me seeing anything Jeffrey Combs has put out. So, yeah. Highly recommend this one. Not quite up to 5 MacGuffins for me, but it's a solid 4 MacGuffin movie. It's a favorite. Check it out.